system.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of the phenomenon known to mankind on Saturday afternoon's main event. The date is July 4th, 2026. 250 years ago, couple of men sat in a place in Philadelphia and chose to create a professional wrestling promotion known as America. Why? Because the storyline is never ending, always continuesome, and it is an all-out war each and every single day. And better yet, the storyline never ends. Guys, on a show like this, we speak about one thing and one thing only: professional wrestling. And we choose to go ahead and be similar in that context because every Saturday afternoon, we present to you this show in every calamity, in every instance, and in every way that we can possibly be the same. But so on and so forth, I would like to welcome you guys to this show. Happy Independence Day. And beyond all, if you do not know who I am because you have the liberty to, after 4 years plus of doing this, whether you're dumb, stupid, blind, or just plain irrelevant, I suggest you go back to school or go into your local library, get the biggest dictionary you can find, preferably Merriam-Webster, not Donald Trump indicted, and look me up under the words phenomenal. Is that a phenomenal one? The guys, of course, a show like this, unfortunately, I'm not alone, because I'm joined by my co-host, comrade, brother from another mother and dimension. I would like to add traitor to that because he had to leave me beyond the show on my own. But in all duality, I'll give him grace. He is the one and only limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a gun who is not having a hard time holding his alligators down. So you guys, the viewers of Saturday afternoon's main event, give me 2 claps and a peep snitch.
Woo! Back on the air once again. I didn't leave you alone. You already know that. But hey, if that's the way you want to take it, that's the way you want to take it. I'll live with that. I'll take that one.
Oh yeah.
I'll take that one. But anyway, back on the show. Glad that you're here. We wish you a very happy Independence Day, 4th of July, big wrestling weekend we took over last week. And then once again, this is the aftermath. And with the aftermath, we have to set you up with the 3 tenets that get this Saturday afternoon going. And that is, of course, laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible.
Indeed. You should know a lot about Independence Day, being that you're damn near 500 years old. But all in all, kudos to you, Peep Snage. But, guys, on a show like this as well, we're joined by our other co-host. Guys, making his long-awaited return back to same studios. I'd like to go ahead and start off with the introduction, knowing that you guys have your cellular devices on hand. I suggest you go ahead and go to your phone app, go into the keypad, and dial the numbers 411. Guys, of course, this is our co-host, the one and only Mr. 411.
And don't forget to follow me on X at Martin's Law Podcast, because you never know what I'm capable of, because it blew up this past week. It blew up with Uncle Dave and the AEW universe. For those not privy, we'll talk about that later on, but that was a lot of fun. When I'm bored, I just don't know what I'm By the way, phenomenal one. The show Nate was missing, did anyone actually miss him?
Oh, boy.
You did a great job on your...
Why, Thank you, Mr. 411. You know what? This is what I'm talking about. Co-hosts actually supporting co-hosts in time of need.
Right.
They're letting me know that I did a great job. Peeps, why didn't you let me know I did a great job, huh?
Did you forget I did when I came back?
I need to hear it reassuringly.
Yo, you know what that sounds like? Phenomenal One. That sounds like jealousy. That man is jealous.
It's gonna be one of those shows. Okay,
no
problem.
It's starting to feel like that, but I digress. Maybe just the first one of the day. Peeps, go write that down, please. Yes, you have the pen on it. Just write it down.
Yes.
Wait, you're asking Nate to do work? What is that? What is work? Nate hasn't had a job in 30 years.
His lifespan on the earth is stretched out more. You would have thought. It's all right. But all in all, seems as if the gang's all here. So better yet, I feel that it's only right for us to go ahead and get into today's show. As Pete said, of course, guys, our 3 tenets to a great Saturday afternoon like this: laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. We're glad that you guys are joining in on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you may be residing within all 4 corners of the world for your flat earthers. But around the world itself, we thank you guys, and we'll go ahead and proceed with today's show accordingly. And you know how that gets started. When you go ahead and hear this sound, it's time for one thing and one thing only. Guys, it is time for 3 Rope Talk, all of the professional wrestling news that you can possibly get that consists within the span of the squared circle. It is only fair that we start off today with our first piece of news hailing from our Raw and Smackdown review. Of course, last week, if you didn't go ahead and tune in, which probably you didn't because Peeps Nature was on your TV screen,
exactly.
Sami Zayn won the WWE title at Night of Champions. Of course, the fallout to all of that kind of rang true on Raw into what we were hearing, knowing that Nick Aldis wasn't going to be on the show and that he was suspended currently and under investigation due to his conflict with the former world champion, career killer Gunther, and Adam Pearce was taking over. We then would find out later into the week about what would take place with the WWE title, but for then, we'll hold that to an extent. But of course, the number one thing that we can all go ahead and pinpoint when it comes to Monday Night Raw: Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins are going to duke it out at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight Championship and what is being deemed their last shot at doing this one more time.
Unbelievable, man.
Indeed.
Yo, I got to jump in because when I watched this promo exchange, I went, wait a second. I thought Seth Rollins hated this man. It sounded like he was glazing him. Like, what was that about? The last time they battled, was there any mutual respect after the match that I forgot about? Because shouldn't Seth Rollins be doing a scathing promo of Roman Reigns instead of telling him how great he is and what he meant to his career and all this other stuff? They lost me on that one. Am I wrong here?
Now, Chris, I feel like I could disagree with you on this one. I feel like it's all tied in to the persona of Seth Rollins as of right now. If you remember Backlash, if you remember the post-show at Backlash with Seth Rollins when they had interviewed him and they were asking him how is it that he's feeling, because of course there were certain botches within the match that he was having at Backlash against Braun. You could tell that there were certain things going on with Seth where it seems like he was slowing down, not hitting his moves on time, not perfecting his craft. And they were asking him what is going on. And he said, I feel as if that my time is genuinely closer to coming to an end. I don't know how much more I can possibly go ahead and continue doing this, being that I'm not ahead of my game as I was years prior. But I'm going to go back to the drawing board and I'm going to try to go ahead and work on the things that I need to work on, because my one goal is to get back the World Heavyweight title that I didn't end up losing. Now, fast forward, we're at this point where Seth Rollins has conquered Braun Breaker. As you can see, it seems as if Seth has had an epiphany. Seth is at the point where he knows his career is winding down and he is no longer in the shape that he was 10 years ago. Knowing that, don't you think this side of Seth Rollins is much more a calculated, determined Seth Rollins to finish his career off, duking off the battles that he needs to duke off fighting off the demons that he needs to do off, and getting back the World Heavyweight Championship. In that sense, he shouldn't be coming off as more of a defensive individual. He's coming off more as a respected individual. And being that he was talking to Roman the way that he was talking, I liked it, because it showed a side of Seth that seemed as if he was genuinely trying to go ahead and get on the good side of Roman for general, real purposes. It was, look, you are going to go down as the greatest. You genuinely have done this, but the one thing that you still have yet to go ahead and genuinely do is beat me with the world title decision on the line, fair and square, with all of that being aside. Knowing that, and knowing the history of what they have accomplished together, what they haven't accomplished together, what their odds have been, he's giving Roman one more shot to beat him in the middle of the ring, shoulders down, 1, 2, 3. And that way they can write that off, and Seth can go ahead and put that beside him, because Seth is still on track to try to win the world title by any means necessary. This isn't the Seth Rollins of old age. This is Seth Rollins knowing that his career is winding down. Peeps, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think this is the third act of a 14-year story that they were trying to construct. Basically, from the beginning of the Shield coming in, that was the first arc. Going in, breaking down the barriers, busting down the doors, and taking what they wanted. The middle part of that story was each one of the individual wrestlers that were within the Shield having their breakout careers. We know Mox won the WWE Championship as Dean Ambrose. We know Roman has had the career that he's had. We also know that Seth has had the career that he's had, all within that span. The last part of this is that third part of the story arc is what are they doing with Seth and Roman? Because they have to now close this out. This part of the story is almost kind of like the old guys that used to run the basketball part. And they know that the young guys keep coming in and the old guys keep beating the younger guys, but it's getting harder and harder for them to beat the young guys. That's basically what's happening here. And knowing that Roman and Seth are at that point where they may not have many opportunities to main event against each other for a championship of this kind, that's where this story goes. So I actually enjoyed the kind of the realization that what's happening here is this may be the end of an era between us two. We should finish it off the way we're going to finish it off. So I had no problem with it.
Great to hear you hopping on the gravy train, Peeps Nate. But another thing that happened on Monday Night Raw that, of course, has been being talked about is the Obafemi Brock Lesnar storyline. We do know that Obafemi did win the King of the Ring at Night of Champions, which means he has a chance to take on the World Heavyweight Champion at a later time, which was specifically thought to be SummerSlam. But, of course, what we got on Monday Night Raw was Brock Lesnar coming in, cutting a promo quickly on Obafemi, and then letting him know that if you go ahead and proceed to talk, you get hit. And that is exactly what Brock Lesnar began to do by delivering a low blow to Oba and ending at 5. What then transpired was Oba letting him know that he is still a BITCH and that he's willing to take him on at any given time, and they need to finish this off.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry to cut you off. Can we retire that word? That word is so overused by everyone in the business now. It's just like, it's almost cringe when I hear somebody call somebody a bitch now. It's just crazy.
Well, you know what? It's WWE for you. Anything to go ahead and get a pop factor, right? They think they're going to go ahead and, you can use anything. You genuinely could use anything.
I can't even blame WWE. They just carried on the word. You know who ruined the word for everybody was Okada.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, that's like the only word he utters anymore.
I'm not going to do it. Anywho, but what transpired after that was Brock accepting the match, but then telling Oba that it would be on his terms, and then he set down the stipulation. Hell in a Cell. The match has been made official to take place at SummerSlam, presumably probably the main event of night 1. So now we know that we're getting this match that is going to take place inside Hell in a Cell. Peeps, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this match happening and the stipulation behind it?
I have no problem with the stipulation. I don't have a problem with the match. What I have a problem with is that the entire convoluted idea behind why they had a king and queen of the ring was basically just destroyed just from the fact that Oba, who was supposed to get a title shot, because they talked about this for the entirety of the tournament. Whoever wins king and queen of the ring gets a championship match at SummerSlam, only for this to be superseded by Oba and his feud with Brock, knowing that they want each other for that third and presumably final match between them. And to say, well, Oba is going to get a title shot, but now, I'll come back for it later. So then what was the point of the King in the Ring tournament anyway if he wins it and he's not even going to get the title shot there? So unless they do something really weird and have him on night 2 get the title shot and pull one of those, I'm going to work the first night and then work the second night, which I don't think is going to happen, it kind of diminishes what the King of the Ring was supposed to be, especially since we know the Queen of the Ring championship match was set literally a minute after that match was over between Liv and Io Sky.
Well, here's a question. Back in the day, did the King of the Ring winner always get a title shot, or was it just a separate prestigious thing? I don't remember. Tell me.
That's usually what they did. They would give the championship match the winner of the King of the Ring, which would usually be in like June, to get the title shot at SummerSlam. And they've done that before. But because of the times that they've taken the King of the Ring away and moved it and then kind of diminished it, they didn't keep it as well. But now over the last couple of years, that's kind of the stipulation that they're going with. So in keeping with that stipulation, if you change the stipulation, then how is anybody going to really follow it and care about it if you're not going to stick to it?
WWE booking for you in all senses of the word.
Yeah.
How about modern wrestling booking? It's not just WWE. Listen, we can do a whole show about how bad today's booking is across the board.
Absolutely, but do you feel that it's only limited like that because of the fact that things have taken a much more softer approach? Can we argue that? Because you also have to remember, when you were looking at the Attitude Era, which was peak television, it was because of Russo wanting to go ahead and book via Crash TV. That was his whole mindset behind how he booked the Attitude Era. And being what the Attitude Era was, you got a lot of crazy stuff, you got a lot of crazy things, but the payoff to certain feuds was because of the certain individuals that were in the companies at the time. As of right now, can you genuinely go ahead and say that the roster is the same storyline-wise and character development-wise as what it was in the Attitude Era? Can we argue that? Absolutely not. No. Those are two different aspects. So I feel that genuinely you just have to say that they've taken the softer approach. It's not the same. Wrestling has genuinely gone down. Not in the sense of how they wrestle, but more in the sense of character development, storyline acts, what it is that the character is. You look at Austin Theory, an individual who, is top of the mark, genuinely everything that you would want in a professional wrestler. And look how they book him. Just look how they book him. And that's pretty much one of the only thought processes that I have is they look at certain individuals and they feel like the only way to go is this one way, when genuinely there are thousands of different ways you can go ahead and turn this wrestler into a bona fide superstar. But they won't do it. That's professional wrestling as a whole as of right now. That's just me. But when we move away from Raw, we can now get into SmackDown. And of course, like I said, Sami Zayn, your new WWE champion, started off the show this week, and he cut an awesome promo. Chris, Mr. 401, your thoughts on this?
It was actually Shane Douglas-esque when you can kiss my ass. The only thing he didn't do is throw down the title. That's the one thing he didn't do. But so the promo was good, and then the aftermath also interesting in terms of where they went with that. However, the crowd reaction, and that's something we discussed in the last 24 hours in our group chat, in terms of what I didn't know is that SmackDown was taped on Monday night, and Nate says because of the holiday weekend. But it's just interesting to me, granted, okay, travel, whatever you want to say and why they did this. But over time, don't you worry about killing your crowd. Now, Tony Khan doesn't care about that 5-hour show. We'll talk about that later. But, I mean, WWE, listen, aside from the Phoenix Vikingo match on SmackDown, the crowd, you could hear a pin drop for most of the stuff. And, it shows that they are alive, but do they care about Sami Zayn? Do they care about Cody Rhodes the way they once did? I didn't see it last night.
Yeah.
I feel that when we talk about the whole dynamic within now Sami Zayn being champion, and then of course we had Jey Uso travel to SmackDown to say that he needed to go ahead and get his hands on a title to bring it back to the family, and having it being answered saying, as far as I'm concerned, the title is in the family, and you having Cody Rhodes sitting there saying, what is this? You think this is 2 years ago again? Like, what are we doing? And the dynamic, of course, with Jay still being downplayed as kind of like the person that's trying to be determined to be respected amongst the bloodline, but still being played as if he's still 2024 early-esque Yeet Jay Botch Uso. They're downplaying him. He's a system that is out of factor. As it pertains to Cody Rhodes, it seems like, again, Cody Rhodes is gaining more of an edge as we proceed to follow through with the storyline. They're making Sami Zayn look amazing. As from what the audience reception is, as far as what people are saying via social media, Sami Zayn is gaining more traction as the WWE champion. And I don't know. Wait,
what? You believe that?
Yes, I thoroughly 100%.
There was no reaction to him. Did you notice the reaction last night? Where did you see reaction?
What's his entrance?
And sorry, everyone pops to an entrance, but once he got in the ring,
to an entrance. But you can tell when certain individuals get done winning a championship, the first show back, it will go ahead and determine to you what individuals may just see. Now, as it pertains, look at it this way. When it came down to Lex Luger winning the WWE Championship, although I don't know if for you guys it may be a bad thought to use this as my inference, but when Lex Luger was chosen to go ahead and come out with the WWE title, because Superstars was a tape show, and they would have tape shows in within other shows, and they would mix and match it because they wouldn't know when they would want this show to air, before or after a pay-per-view. They wanted to test, and Vince did the litmus test on Lex Luger by putting the WWE title around his waist and having him enter within his entrance with it. What did the crowd do? Oh yeah, that's right, confusion, silence. People just sat there and they were like, wait, they put the title on Luger? You would have thought people would have cared, being that the Lex Express was some of this big thing. People were trying to book Lex Luger into going ahead and facing for the WWE Championship, but nobody cared. Not one person cared. Knowing that Sami Zayn was champion, it didn't enter to boos as he was getting prior. It didn't enter to a little bit of schmick-schmack to people saying, oh, you know what? I still can't buy this persona. I can't buy this thought process. I can't buy what it is that the company sees around Sami Zayn holding the title. People genuinely were happy that they put the title on Sami Zayn.
Are you aware of what's going on online? There's an outcry, not only from fans, but from former wrestlers saying how much of a joke it is that he's the champion.
I beg to differ, Mr. 401, because from what I've been seeing on social media, everybody was happy, especially even after Night of Champions, because they were like, the shock factor of actually putting the title on Sami Zayn instead of having Cody go ahead and go in and win this again, or just by putting it on Gunther just for a title change. WWE actually hit this on a ball.
Yeah, but where's the happiness? No, you're not wrong about that. The happiness, is it coming from the fact that Sammy's the champ, or they took it off Cody again because people are sick of Cody?
Probably where's the happiness?
It's a little bit of both, but I feel like from what I'm seeing from within the reactions, people are actually happy that Sammy's champion because they want to see where they go with this character.
Well, I don't think they're going to go far with it. I think he's a transitional champion. How long do you think he's holding this title for?
I'd say about 3 months tops. Because genuinely, you got to also think, they wanted to go with this for next year's WrestleMania. They wanted to pull through and crown Sami Zayn as champion. Instead, they said, you know what? We will strike while the iron's hot. And being that the fan reception has been this, and people are actually intrigued to seeing where this goes with his character arc and his development, we're going to go ahead and strike right now while we're in Saudi Arabia, get this reaction, and then prolong the story from there. Because I feel like there's more to the story than what you're thinking of, Mr. 401. And we will get to it later on.
Listen, you're not wrong about a lot of what you're saying. What I'm saying is that I think it's more of a testament of the fans are sick of Cody. They don't want to see Cody unless he turns heel, because that's what they want at some point, right?
Yeah,
Sammy,
I've already heard that.
Right. At some point, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, with Sammy's work right now, and I said this recently on X, actually, I'm not a biggest fan of Sammy, especially not the second push. We talk about the organic push, the original push, where he faced Roman, and people that wanted to see him beat Roman, right? Even though they weren't going to end Roman's reign at that moment. But the second push was weak. This one is better, and because of his work, not only on the mic, but in the ring, as we talk about, I was not opposed to this push, and the title change made sense. It definitely was well done. I'm just saying there's a lot of people out there that do not, as they did with DDP, by the way, when he won the WCW title, there's a lot of people out there that feel Sami Zayn is not world championship material.
Well,
and one of the things, one of those things that I think that we're looking at here is the fact that because of the fact that the show was taped, there were a lot of discrepancies in audio, so it's very hard to tell which reaction was full or if it was enhanced. We've all talked about this. I predicted a while back that at some point they were going to try and put the belt on Sami Zayn, and that's what they were going to do. I don't think it's going to be a long reign. I don't think anybody thinks that it's a long reign. But also we know that the story that they're trying to tell is mostly using Sami Zayn as a conduit, I think, to get the heel turn out of Cody. And I think the way that they're using him is they're using him the same way that a lot of, if you think about 2008 Chris Jericho, when he was walking around saying, "I'm the best there is at what I do." And his promos were to tell the truth. And the reason why, even though he was a heel, that the fans actually cheered him outside of him being Chris Jericho was the fact that even though he was telling the truth, he couldn't be denied of what he was saying. Sammy is literally doing the same thing. He's basically cutting promos where he's actually telling the truth and seemingly getting boos from the fans that don't feel Sammy is being a quote unquote good guy. And then you have those fans that are diehard Sami Zayn fans that are going to stick with him irregardless. And I think those are the vocal fans that we're hearing in the arenas, in the building. Because when he came to the ring and you saw him getting high fives to certain fans, and then some fans gave him a "you deserve it" chant, the rest are kind of apoplectic about why he's the champ. So going in, I can understand the backlash from a lot of fans online that think WWE is cooked. But I can also understand.
Nate, just the point of the show, Uncle Triple C is looking up that word right now. What was that word again?
Apoplectic.
Yeah, Uncle Triple C, look it up.
But those that are actually watching in online and are kind of wondering where they're going with this, it's one of two ways. Either they're happy that Sammy is the champ because it's the end of that quest for him winning the championship. Or it's like, how long is it going to be before somebody takes the belt off of him? And I think that's kind of where the fan base kind of lies right now until they build off of what they plan on doing with Sammy. Because I think he's going to be champ between now and at least until SummerSlam. And we'll see what happens from there.
Well, when it pertains towards that, we now know that within that, later that night, there was a match to determine who would face Sami Zayn next week or this coming Monday on Raw for the WWE Championship, in which Jey Uso was pinned by Cody Rhodes, and Cody ends up being the number one contender and the person to face Sammy this Monday night. Knowing that Monday Night Raw is in Chicago, and we haven't seen one Charles Montgomery Punk, one may make the inference that we will see the return of CM Punk come this Monday on Raw. And I feel that Punk will tie in to this storyline one way or another. Whether it is doing things the right way, which I think that is going to be it, because like one Nate said, although I hate to agree with him right now, he made the inference that this title reign from Sami Zayn is to get the heel turn out of Cody, to get that certain edge factor and that degree where Cody right now is pissed that he lost the way he lost to Sami Zayn. It was shown on Night of Champions, the look of disbelief, the look of shock, and the look of disdain on the face of Cody Rhodes was shown. We know that was the case. When he got done pinning Jey Uso's shoulders to the mat last night, it was shown then and there as well when his hand was getting raised. Cody Rhodes right now is at a peak where he is willing to do anything to get back the WWE Championship. And I think CM Punk will tie in by telling him, this is not you. This isn't the way that you do things. And for the next couple of weeks after this, it will tie into them having a match at SummerSlam. That's my thought process.
So, and that ties into that conversation that they had before CM Punk took his leave, where he basically said, you'll never know when a title opportunity will just come out of the air and present itself. That conversation they can go back to between Cody and CM Punk and revisit that.
Phenomenal one. Much like when Nate speaks, I was falling asleep during the Uso Rhodes match. It was hard to watch. I'm happy it was only, 9 minutes? So it finally ended. Hey, listen, he's not good. He's just not good, okay? And I don't know. Was that finish kind of flat, by the way? I'm not opposed to, a finish match.
It was. Absolutely it was. I mean, we know, and we've been talking about this since last year's Royal Rumble, that, okay, Jey Uso, perfect. The fallout from that Royal Rumble, some of his matches, crap shows. We've been saying this. Jey Uso in-ring solo is not the move. It hasn't been the move. Tag team wrestling is his specialty. Why? Because they stuck him in a tag team for damn near a decade plus. And that's all they play. Well, Mr. 411, I have, you make it seem like it's terrible. It's not.
No, people have revisionist history about everything. In fact, there are people now who think Michael Cole's some great commentator. No, he's not. He still sucks, okay? The Usos were never a great tag team. The New Day was a significantly better tag team than the Usos. It wasn't even close. I've never been a fan of their in-ring work.
I mean, you can't compare the New Day to the Usos, but in their line of work, the Usos weren't bad.
They were okay. They weren't good, though. But WWE makes the Usos out to be one of the greatest tag teams in the history of the business. It's so stupid. I hate it. And I get why they do it. Listen, I get it. It's a work, right? But it's just, it makes me sick.
I know the other thing that you probably think of is the way that they treated Umaga. Because remember, they talk about Umaga with reverence.
Oh, my God.
When he passed away, the WWE did a great job of ignoring him for the better part of the last decade.
Thank you.
Until the bloodline came back and they were able to use that as part of the storyline, and then they've been able to revisit how good he is. So the WWE has precedence for doing things like that, especially with the bloodline.
So bad.
Revisionist history exists, peeps. Of course, it does. It does. But with that being said, Mr. 401, I want to ask you, with the thought process of CM Punk possibly going ahead and being on this Monday's show and possibly having a story or an angle with Cody where this is without title precautions or maybe a number one contendership or something down the line, is this the best place to go ahead and put CM Punk in currently?
I mean, it depends with to your point, what you just said before makes sense, and I would want to see that. I definitely want to see that, especially if we're leading towards the Cody turn. Then yeah, everything is put in place. I agree with it.
And should CM Punk at least stay on SmackDown for the foreseeable future after that?
Oh, without question. Oh no, he has to go to SmackDown. He's done everything he could possibly do on Raw. They're not gonna do another program with him and Roman.
Yeah.
Understand. Well, with that being said, that is our end talk on CM Punk and our end talk on the SmackDown review. We will go ahead and revisit this come down next week. Once the fallout from both shows take place, then we'll know what ties into SummerSlam, what doesn't tie into SummerSlam, and what foregoes for the foreseeable future in the world of WWE. We now move from that to AEW, and we're going to speak on Forbidden Door that took place this past Sunday night. 5-hour masterclass from Tony Khan.
5-hour tour.
We'll start with you. I know I said masterclass because I wanted to get you riled up. Begin.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now they need to call these shows the Forbidden Backdoor, because that's how the fans take it. Each time we have to sit there for 5 hours and endure this. And I'm not saying it's bad. Listen, there's a lot of good work in these matches. The problem is the length of these matches. Every match is treated as a main event. That can't be. Since the beginning of the business, you build a card and you give each match a little bit more time as it proceeds to the main event, where that would normally get the most time. Every match is 30 minutes. It's so long. Everybody does everything. Again, this is ad nauseum. We say the same stuff every show. And again, there's good within, but why do I need to see everybody kick out of everything? And this is where my X battle happened this past week on the internet with me talking about the shock. So you get this match in the main event, Ospreay and Swerve. Listen, a lot of it was great. A lot of it. Again, here's what happens during these matches, though. Once you get to like the 25-minute mark, there's often like a reset where they go back and they do the same stuff they just did. We literally get to see the same moves over and over and over again until someone runs out of, what is it, power on the bar, right, for the video game?
Yeah.
The power is that empty, so now I can pin my opponent because I've done everything.
No more stamina.
Right. So the reaction is such. Ospreay gets dropped, how many times in a finisher by Swerve, right? And by the 10th time, the fan, they shoot the crowd, and the fan is like this. Like, how are you surprised that he kicked out again? This is what they do. They just kick out and kick out. And it overstays its welcome. Is it a good match for 20? Yeah, it is. It doesn't need to be 30. Not everything needs to be 30 match to be good. Tony Khan does not subscribe to the saying, less is more. Never. Okay, I said my piece.
How can you blame him knowing the fact that he has all these wrestlers, so he wants to go ahead and get out his jerk fest in bundles? Okay, it comes out within a vanity of compendiums. Now, when it pertains to the show itself, of course, a 5-hour show, I myself, alongside Mr. 401, have the exact same problem when it pertains to certain matches. Kenny Omega, Zack Sabre Jr., genuinely the highlight of the pay-per-view for myself. Does every match after that have to be 25 minutes long? No. There is no reason as to why.
No.
I sat there watching the Shibata match, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, what the holy hell am I doing? What am I doing? Can we get to the main event?
Right.
Can we get to the last part of the show? And then after that, knowing that I'm sitting there watching this match, thinking to myself, you know what? Not only did they cut the match off on the feed for David Busters to Peeps because he's a bad co-host, but also along the way because they closed at midnight. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to. Peeps, come on, bud. It's all right. It's all right. We can digress over that one. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
But,
and also tell him when he's telling lies. No.
But all in all, when it pertains down to it, the amount of time that they spend on matches it's just bad. I'm sitting there watching 30 minutes of one wrestling match, knowing that we have 8 more matches to go, and you're sitting here feeding me all this bull crap just to get about 18 more kickouts in, about 5+ more sub finishes, and you're telling me that this is wrestling? No, it's bullshit. But again, it had its highs and its highs.
Yes. There's good in it. We can't say there isn't good in it. They just don't need to be that long.
Yeah.
Just not that long. When it comes down to it, Mercedes Moné is your Owen Hart Women's Cup final winner. She is going to go on to presumably face Tekla for the AEW Women's title at All In. When it pertains to the men's side, Will Ospreay defeated Swerve Strickland in a match that was certainly great. Again, I was already tired by the time the pinfall ended, so I was sitting there ready to turn off my television and go straight to sleep. But still, again, the show had its highs, the show had its lows. Babes, we'll go to you. How did you feel about Forbidden Door?
Forbidden Door was a pretty good show. The issue, like you just stated, a lot of matches, build, length, those are the kinds of things that they have to work on. And if they're going to do shows this long, they need to start thinking about doing the show and starting it at 7 as opposed to starting it at 8. Because let's really be honest, not too many people that are watching unless you're a diehard AEW fan, are watching the pre-show or the countdown to the actual pay-per-view. So going in, the surprise, as you just stated, Mercedes Moné and Maya World, which to me, was as shocking of a match based on, I believe Mercedes was making Maya World. This was one of those matches that tries to make a star. So I think that's what that happened. We know that Mercedes and Athena helped train her. We know that the story was Maya World went in, she lost her brother, and that was what she was kind of using to fuel her in the match. But also at the same time, how on earth she was able to have that match with the repeated wardrobe malfunction she kept having throughout the entirety of the match, which in some instances was very distracting.
I wasn't complaining about that. We won on that one. But so, by the way, Mercedes is the only match to not receive a star rating.
Yes, yes. I'm sure you got it. That doesn't make any sense.
About Dave Meltzer right now?
Nobody wants to know.
Uncle Dave is ad nauseum. Finished, done. Like, why do we still talk about that? You know what? Maybe it's just me because Dave blocked me earlier this week on Twitter. Racist, because he didn't block Mr. 4-on-1, which doesn't go ahead and allude to the fact that Mr. 4-on-1 ripped a new one to him more than I did. I just made the tweet favorable to him. But I digress. It's okay. But all in all, when it pertains to it, again, Forbidden Door, it was a good show with its highs and its lows. I just feel like Forbidden Door is a filler pay-per-view. You just have shows to cross-promote, even though you're just genuinely booking for an AEW pay-per-view with about 2-3 more matches for the next show. That's all we're caring about. And I think it's only fair that we move into the next show because there were things that took place on Dynamite where it ties in to All In and the next AEW show, Redemption. So, Here's where I'm going to go ahead and go with this. We now see that Jon Moxley and the Death Riders are now trying to add Will Ospreay fully to the Death Riders. So that way, if Ospreay goes ahead and wears a patch saying that he's with the Death Riders, Moxley will take him anywhere and everywhere and get him in those doors where he needs to get into. Ospreay chooses to wear the patch. But alongside that, we now know Kenny Omega is next in line to face MJF, and MJF has put out the clause that if Kenny loses, he will no longer be able to challenge for the AEW World Title again.
Isn't that done too much? I feel like that's done a lot.
Yeah, they did it with Hangman.
Did it with Hangman.
They did it with Cody.
Exactly. And now you're choosing to do this to Omega. But guys, I think this is where it ties in. The storyline is real. It's been real for a couple of weeks. Ever since I saw on Dynamite Omega and Ospreay sitting together, I knew the direction that Tony Khan was going to. Guys, MJF is losing the title at AEW Redemption. Or he may just lose it earlier. Whatever this match happens, because I see a returning Hangman Adam Page costing MJF the world title, tying them into a storyline into All In. But Kenny Omega's going to win the AEW World Championship, and he will then face Ospreay at All In. That is the direction.
You believe that?
I believe that.
Wow, I'm shocked by that. Nate, are you shocked by that? Because I don't know.
I see where the story would be going, but I would be shocked if MJF is not still champ going into All In, because I think that's where they're going.
They already took the title off of him with the Darby Allin experiment. I don't think they're going to do it again, and then that's it? He's out of the picture? That's odd.
It would almost...
Only because I see Hangman returning. It would make sense because of the fact that MJF mentioned Hangman in that promo to Kenny Omega this past week on Dynamite, saying that your friend Hangman, just like him, you won't be able to challenge for this title again. And knowing that Kenny Omega's been on a run where he's trying to get back to winning the title, a lot like Seth Rollins in a sense, crossover WWE, Kenny is on his last chances. We know the diverticulitis went ahead and decreased his chances of wrestling for a longer duration. This is genuinely maybe one of his last chances to main event a pay-per-view on some caliber, walking in with the title, or even defending for the title at any given point in time.
But wait, with their schedule that they have and how they barely work, why couldn't he be champion? And why can't he continue wrestling the way he does? He didn't look like he had issues in his match against Zack Sabre Jr. Why does he?
At all. Absolutely not. But again, you got to also understand the mindset of Tony Khan. Tony has how many different superstars on his payroll? Do you think he can genuinely satisfy them all by not putting the title on them?
Wait. Let's quote superstars. How many do they really have? Superstars?
I mean,
because superstars draw. They draw, not just at pay-per-views. They draw at TV. Where's the...
We also got to add in that cable stat, Mr. 411. So it's like, can any of them really draw a rating currently at this day and age? Like,
no, I'm talking about a house. Remember, Dynamite used to draw 10,000 people. It doesn't do that now.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's not like they have CM Punk again. You know, those days of having regular record gates on a regular TV taping are over. That doesn't happen.
I will say when they do the international shows, when they do an international show, they'll draw. But
they should be based in Europe. They should be based in Europe, 100%. They're a pay-per-view company that should be based in Europe. They're not. Listen. What are they? What's their average? Didn't they just have a Dynamite recently at 1,200 people?
Yeah.
I look at WrestleTix, 1,200 people at a recent Dynamite.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. I thoroughly agree with you there. I'm just saying, they have a couple of stars on their payroll that genuinely go ahead and make most of the storylines for us wrestling fans that want to sit there and watch. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like we can't. We can be sitting there and saying, "Oh, you know what? They don't have people that draw," because if anything, they're drawing our attention. We'd be A1 solid. Dumbasses and say no to that. Because
they're the most successful independent company of all time. That's what they are.
I mean, Mr. 411 with a solid take for you there. But all in all, for me, that's where I feel that would be going, which would tie into the Dynamite review there. But again, I myself see Kenny Omega, Ospreay, All In, world title on the line. Because why would it be Ospreay versus MJF when genuinely they're telling the story of Ospreay having a heel side to him? That's why I just can't see it being MJF, because MJF would willfully destroy him on the mic if it comes down to being MJF. You need somebody to go ahead and face Ospreay where it looks believable, as Ospreay is trying to be this different individual, this much more calculated, divisive, and dangerous professional wrestler. If that's what you're trying to build for Ospreay, why would you have him face MJF? Because, again, we see MJF's character development. We've seen how he's wrestled. We've seen how he does when it comes down to his promos. He'd be destroyed by Ospreay. In and out. Because what would Ospreay have to go ahead and counter defend that? Bruv.
No, you can talk about how he smashes his wife. Remember that? Didn't he say that a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
How he smashed his wife.
I smashed the bro. The thing is with Ospreay and what they're doing with MJF is the fact that if MJF is champ going in, he is the one person that can sell this. Forget about the Ospreay side of it, because All In is going to be in London. He doesn't have to say anything to sell his side of the show. But going in, if you're going to have MJF is going to sell everything with his promos, with his antics, the people that he's pissing off. Remember, you still have underneath Andrade and what they've been doing there. They got to address that whole thing from the cage match and that whole build that they were doing with Andrade. So they do have certain players that are there that I think the storyline arc is MJF is pissing everyone off in the company beneath him. And there are other people that want to see him lose that championship. So that's where they would go from there. But MJF, I can't see. I see the scenario that Phenomenal One is seeing. But I also think the fact is going to be MJF is going to be building and selling this pay-per-view going into All In. That's what I think.
Well, I agree with that because you need the name. Listen, I'm sorry to cut you off. The attendance, by the way, I checked it out. Recent ticket sales, they're north of 30,000 right now, and they were in the 20s for a while. So they're starting to jump up a little bit with ticket sales.
Okay. I mean, but then again, you also got to go ahead and think about it. Europe, London, don't you think the London fans would want to see Ospreay Omega? A match that completely sold when it came down to New Japan. A match that completely sold when it came down to them having it at Forbidden Door domestically, not domestically, but cross territory within Toronto. Like, people pay to want to see that match.
And that could sell the rematch from. That could sell a rematch from when they fought each other at Forbidden Door. What was it, 2 years ago?
Oh, finally you removed your cataracts, peeps. It's hard.
Well, wait. Okay, so what match do we want to see, though? Because from the standpoint of MJF getting the best out of Ospreay, allowing him to work the correct style and not do too much crap in the ring to where it's more presentable to fans that know what wrestling should look like and how it should be presented, or watch Ospreay against Omega where there's limited psychology, we hit every move, we kick out of everything, every AEW match that we see. We know we're going to get a better match with MJF involved.
Yeah. And MJF will definitely know how to work the fans in England to get on Ospreay's side to give him that second, third wind as the match goes on.
Well, then, we have about a month and a half left till we go ahead and get to All In. Redemption is on its way here. So let's see what falls out from that. But as for that, that's our review on AEW Dynamite. Beef Stage, I hear that the ratings are up next. Do you have the ratings, my good sir?
There are no AEW ratings for whatever reason. They haven't
It didn't register.
They're hiding away from Beef Stage.
But I do have NXT's ratings. They did 592,000 with a .09 in the demo. Interesting enough, the Great American Bash show that they did, which was on during that weekend, they actually got the ratings for that. They did 394,000 with a .07 in the demo. That was on over the air. Now, mind you, this isn't a cable rating. This is over the air network television. So they barely got 400,000.
They did a worse number than they do for their regular show, and this is considered a PLE, if you will, right?
Yes.
I mean, even though it's over the air. Wow. But again,
and they actually got they asked I believe the CW asked them to add more matches to the show so that they can string out the show and have a bigger card. Instead of their normal 4 or 5 matches, they did 6 matches on the card.
Yeah, by the way, did you hear the same thing about ESPN specifically asking WWE?
Yes, they did that. Yeah, ESPN did the same thing for Night of Champions because they wanted to at least boost up what would be watched after that first hour on ESPN too. So, I mean, again, WWE limits the matches for some odd reason.
We don't know why, right?
And exactly, we don't know why. But it's great to hear that these companies are asking them to boost up the match card. So that's fine with me, but to hear that was the number on over the air television.
That's sad.
394,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
CW's like we could have ran reruns of Arrow back in the day. They would have had a better number.
All American will put in something. You know what?
Right.
Put on Moesha from UPN days. Like we'll get a better rating out of that. But goalie.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Well then, that marks the end of that for same. So appreciate you, Peep Stage, for doing your due diligence and your job.
Kinda.
Somewhat. Yeah.
Right.
But all in all,
here.
We have gotten to our question of the week. This one comes from Tombstone City Adam. He says, did WWE do fans an injustice by getting rid of the network? Netflix has yet to update the full Raw library alongside other shows, and I don't think they'll do so anytime soon. Yes.
Yes, but then at the same time, a lot of stuff is now getting released on YouTube. So you can kind of watch a lot of stuff now. There's even YouTube channels specifically like old school wrestling. You can just turn it on and just watch every match. It's kind of.
I get where Tombstone City Adam's coming from, and I get where you're coming from, Mr. 401. But I'm also thinking from the thought process. $10 a month, which means you're not paying $14 for Netflix and sub $50 for ESPN. Tie in all of your wrestling for one,
and you're not getting everything, right?
And you're not getting everything. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
fair.
They fragmented. they fragmented the audience with all of that. Like when the
That's because they're gonna rape your wallet. Yeah.
At this point, they're going to name the wallet some wrestler's name, and it's insane. Yes, it is. The product is fragmented.
It is fragmented. I mean, again, we $9.99. They sold that to us on a silver platter, and of course, it's not like everybody would watch AWA or anything. But again, the fact that all you have to do is just pay $10, and you get all your PLEs, and then on top of that, if you wanted to go back and revisit whatever it is that you wanted to revisit, unedited and uncensored, you could have.
Well, part of it was to some degree because they edited out music to some degree. Yeah.
Oh, the music was the worst, especially for those NWA shows. By the way, some of the stuff that you're getting on YouTube, somehow you're getting the original music. Like I heard recent original music on NWA shows.
Yes, and it's when you're looking at it from how they've done it. If you look at it with all the different channels, with the WCW, NWA, Crockett, they upload the WCW Saturday night shows. Yeah. Saturday night's main event shows are getting their own channel, so to speak, on there. Mm-hmm. So for those that are out there, if you want to see some of the stuff that you're missing, instead of paying all of those exuberant costs of different streaming services, everything was right there. You see it when you wanted, and then you could then say, I got a value. You felt like there was value in paying $9.99 a month to see all of that. And if you were just there for just the PLEs, it paid for itself in its value. Now it's fragmented throughout the entirety of between YouTube. The ECW is probably one of the shows that you're not going to really get all of because they have to edit so much between licensing, music, etc. But overall, you can see what you want on YouTube and other places now.
By the way, speaking of ECW, I wasn't here last week, so I don't know if you guys talked about it, but Paul Heyman, the interview with Chris Van Vliet was incredible.
Oh, yes. An amazing interview. An amazing interview without a shadow of a doubt. Everything from the psychology of what he was talking about when it came down to the bloodline. Everything when they asked him what was his thought process if he were to go ahead and go to TNA when when he was thinking about going to TNA, and how he said, "Oh, this is an old wrestler. I would have cut everybody and only keep one old wrestler."
Right.
And in my head, I'm probably thinking in my head that he probably would have kept Sting, or maybe Kurt Angle at the time. Who knows? But in all duality, I feel like he probably would have kept just one, and he would have started fresh. And I love the idea. And I was like, can you imagine if Paul Heyman actually did go to TNA and they gave him the reins?
Yeah, because he thought about
buying the company. He actually thought about buying TNA outright.
Well, no, Shane was going to buy it. Shane McMahon wanted to buy it. He didn't have the money to buy it. It was Shane McMahon. But the thing is, Phenomenal One, you were too young. We lived this. We remember vividly back then how close Heyman was to being creative, and we knew the TNA roster and what it looked like, how great the potential was for that company had there been someone with a brain in charge of it. And we were all excited about it. We were like, because we all missed ECW, of course. So we knew of Heyman not handling financial, of course, because that's the one thing he wasn't good at. Just given the book, if he was just given the book at a company, sky's the limit. So we feel like we lost out as fans. That was devastating for all of us when we learned he wasn't going to be in creative. And then they doubled down and made it worse by putting Bischoff and Hogan in charge. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's amazing that the company survived that.
Right.
I mean, they can survive that. They survived. I mean, they can survive anything. TNA has 9 lives, okay?
It's more than that at this point.
Jeez, talk about it. But all in all, Tombstone City Adam, thank you for that question. Such a great topic to go ahead and talk about at certain times, and you going ahead and reinvigorating that for us was great. But all in all, if you feel as if your question is that damn good, go ahead and send it into our Instagram at Saturday Afternoons_main event. Peeps, point down. Come on, man. Jeez. Just asking. Thank you. But yes, at Saturday Afternoons_main event, send in a question in the words of the Wrestling God, WWE Hall of Famer JBL. I guarantee you will be on the next episode of the show. But with that being said, we've gotten to our final topic of today's show, and it is Dave Meltzer's false narratives and why it's bad for pro wrestling. Uncle Dave, how do we go ahead and kickstart this? How do we talk about this? We know for a fact Dave has made some pretty unsettling and just stupid claims on social media via his Twitter. And it's crazy to think that people actually pay for the Wrestling Observer in 2026.
There are moments on Wrestling Observer Radio where he's literally arguing with his co-host Brian Alvarez about how AEW books, because a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense, and Alvarez will say it doesn't make sense, and Dave will defend it to the end, which is why when I went online and I went on X this past week, and I said there's an agenda. Clearly, there's an agenda. Whether or not he's directly feeding Tony Khan ideas that Tony Khan is using, or Dave just wants to stay relevant for the sake of the younger audience who's watching AEW, trying to keep it afloat, or if he's directly being paid by Tony Khan. Whatever it may be, there's clearly an agenda that is changing his star ratings, which we've all talked about, are ridiculous in comparison to the matches we saw in the 80s and 90s. And I'm not saying none of these matches are 5 stars, because some of them are. Of course they are. But when you talk about every match, when you look at this past star rating, and there were 2 5-star matches, a bunch of matches were over 4.5 stars. It's just absurd, because when you look at the juxtaposition, he rates WWE matches fairly. When I hear Cornette read the matches back and his ratings for them, they are so fair. So when I say an agenda, he's clearly not rating the AEW matches more fair. Now, are they better matches? For the most part, yes, except for when you take into the account of the overbooking of it in terms of the length and the kicking out of everything. But as a whole, yeah, WWE matches, they have more psychology, clearly, right? The better storytelling, better storyline. But the in-ring stuff, AEW has them. Yeah, they have them on that. That's fine. But not by this margin of his mindless star ratings in some of these matches. Nate?
Yeah, I think that when we look at Dave and we see where he kind of branches off into how he rates these matches, it makes you kind of question, as we talked about it before. My surprise match of the entire show was Mercedes Moné and Maya World, which I thoroughly enjoyed the match. The match actually had legitimate psychology. There were a lot of good moves. There was a lot of great work rate in that match, but was not given a star rating at all. Meanwhile, all the other matches that were on the card got, like you said, 5s and 4.5s and 4.75, whatever. People
are still doing their due diligence, trying to find out why. We don't know why. So,
from what he's explained, he said, I believe he said he was there, and he said that in watching it there live was different than the reactions that he was getting from people that watched the match on pay-per-view or on TV. So he said he wanted to wait until he saw the match on television to be able to give it the proper star rating, and then he'll give his star rating then. That doesn't make any sense to me, because he waited every other match in the show.
There were 12 on the card? How many matches, right?
Well, as far as the matches went, there were 9 on the proper show, and I think 11 or 12 overall if you count the pre-show. Right. So if you're going to go that route and say, well, that's the case, you were there to grade every other match.
Do you guys have the match duration? Do you have the match duration? I'm curious which match was the shortest of the night. I'm very curious to know that.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
You have it?
Pull up the match. I have, let's see. Okay. Match duration. Yes, I got it. So obviously the longest match of the show was Ospreay and Swerve. That was 35 minutes and 30 seconds.
And I'm okay with that. If every other match isn't that long, fine.
Exactly.
Right. Coleman Cage.
16 minutes. The Death's Door cage match, this 12-on-12 match, that was 30 minutes and 50 seconds.
I didn't watch that. I could not. You can't pay me to watch that.
It was entertaining in spots, especially the spot where Leo Rush was pulled out of a bag from underneath the ring and started going.
Oh, that was funky.
That was funny. I found it funny. Mercedes Moné and Maya World, that match was 25 minutes and 55 seconds.
Too long.
The tag team title match between Cage and Cope versus the Dogs, that was 16 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, that's appropriate. I'm okay with that. Good. And that could have been 12. I didn't need 16 there. That could have been 12.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Thekla versus Starlight Kid only got 18.
Yes.
18. Okay, well, I never thought that match overstayed its welcome, though. I thought that was okay for 18.
Yes. The only other match that really should have been in the 30-minute mark and came close was the Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. match. And that one did about 25 and change. 25-30 was the actual amount for that. Yeah.
Yeah, 35-30. So I mean, like, geez, like. Yeah,
so for the most part, all of those other matches were reasonably timed, for the exception of the back half of the show, which there were a lot of half hours. How long was the
Moxley match? How long was the Moxley match?
That was about 18 minutes. Yeah, 18 minutes and 10 seconds.
No, every Moxley match should be like 7 minutes. Nobody needs to see it. Nobody needs to see it.
So as it pertains, Dave, just again, Dave just has some weird takes. And when it pertains down to him, one thing I have to say, Mr. 411 had something nice to go ahead and say to Dave when it pertained earlier this week on X towards his reaction towards what it is that people don't understand when it comes to AEW. He said this, to be exact, and I'll go ahead and put it up for the people here. He said, you have to be borderline R-word to be surprised when someone kicks out of everything in a match. AEW fan base has the lowest IQ fan base ever. Nothing beats anyone. These mouth breathers look shocked. They went ahead and said, lowest IQ, please give a survey that says so. We only know for multiple years that they are the highest income in wrestling genre based on Nielsen full year reports. Meanwhile, the one that has a multi-integrated set of families from high and low, depending on ticket sales, especially the amount that people are paying for tickets when it pertains to WWE, aren't they the ones that you can genuinely calculate to say that they're the ones with the high income? But how is it that you'll say that when it pertains to AEW, when most of those people are just 40-year-old people that live in their mother's basement? What is it that we're doing here? Genuinely, what is it that we're doing here? How is it that we can go...
I mean, yes and no. My reply also, listen, you can be a blue-collar worker, and you can still make six figures. It doesn't mean you have a high IQ.
Exactly. So, again, Dave's sitting there having to go ahead and defend the AEW faithful to a degree where it's just that he considers himself a part of it, or he just may be on payroll. And it's accepting to the fact that things like this are okay when it just pertains to AEW, but will completely crap on it if it pertains to WWE. It's completely borderline insane. I feel like, again, tribalism in professional wrestling isn't needed. It isn't great. There is no sense of it to be made ad nauseum. He is making it harder for us to sit there and enjoy a product when all he's trying to do is try to say, journalistically, he's shoving it down our throats with a dirt sheet account when he's saying that it's an insider business journal. How does this make this an inside business journal when he doesn't report on yearly earnings every single week? He doesn't report on anything going on other than rumors and fables that he tries to go ahead and create a buzz around and just insert his name into it.
By the way, I'm laughing. Look at my profile on the right there. Look what the last line says on my profile.
King of all trolls. I love it. Mr. 411 for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Always been the King of Trolls, will forever remain it. But all in all, again, I feel that when it comes down to tribalism, there's no need for it. And cancers like Dave Meltzer are killing professional wrestling week by week and tweet by tweet.
Well, no, but people don't have to listen to him. We don't even have to talk about him, right? He doesn't have to exist. We keep him alive. I say from this day forward, Dave Meltzer doesn't exist. Let's everybody get on that page.
Yeah, I think all wrestling,
that works.
All wrestling fans. The thing
Dave
that
who?
makes
I'm sorry, Dave who?
I think we're in that sphere as wrestling fans that opinions of wrestling are all subjective, no matter who they're coming from. The issue is, are you fair with your assertions going forward on a particular product? And if there is a fairness between WWE, TNA, AEW, AAA, whatever the promotion you watch, if that's what you watch, if that's what you're a fan of, there's nothing wrong with that. Because like I said before, wrestling opinions are all subjective to that person. But when you start taking that subjective opinion and passing that subjective opinion as fact and not being fair with a counteractive opinion, that makes sense in the grand scheme of things, that's when you start to have a problem, because then it looks like there's a conflict of interest in the opinion that you're stating based on what should be the fair discussion that you're going to have looking at the product.
Listen, everybody wants to stay relevant, right? So people are going to do whatever it takes to stay relevant, especially when their subscriber base starts dropping. Everyone's going to go desperate, right? And whatever it takes to keep those people that you have remaining. And sometimes people lose their integrity. You lose your integrity, and then what happens after that? You lose your credibility. And to a lot of people, that individual that we're not going to name anymore has lost his credibility.
And is it just that he just can't get full of him? Like, he's just too full of himself at this point then? Because I think that he is. It's just in all duality. I mean, he is full of himself. He is just trying to stay within relevancy. But again, the people that he's pertaining to and that he's, casually going ahead and still jacking off, they're still supporting him. They're still giving him a platform. So it's like, it'll never end. It just will never end.
There are a lot of people in the business. There are a lot of people in the business that still look at Dave Meltzer as the end-all, be-all of wrestling critiques. But then there are a lot of people in the business that hate his guts. They don't understand why he's still in the business. And those that are opposed to him are getting louder and louder within the industry that I've noticed over the last few years.
I.e. Eric Bischoff off of Dark Side of the Ring.
Bischoff is the first name that pops up in... Yes.
But I digress. But with that being said, guys, as long as we don't have to go ahead and talk about Lord Voldemort, one place that you can go ahead and get non-biased and all things wrestling within your factor of a week is here on Saturday afternoon's Main Event. And on a show like this, we appreciate you guys for tuning in off of Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. We thank you guys, but unfortunately, our time has arrived to go ahead and end the show. We did definitely have a WBD overrun today, but unfortunately, our time has come to an end. We'll see you guys next week for the following episode of Same to go ahead and cover everything that takes place this following week within Raw, SmackDown, and AEW as a whole. But on a show like this was Saturday afternoon's Main Event. We're out of Phenomenal One.
I, the Peeps Nate.
Mr. 411.
Yes, where we came.
We saw.
And in the words of the great Paul Heyman,
send us home, Mr. Nate.
We conquered.
Jesus, it sounds like you're having a hysterectomy. You okay? Anywho.
Yes.
See you next week. Peace.
Definitely constipated.
Take some suppositories, peeps. Peace, love. Farewell.